Hello, this video here will show you how to install Airserver on your laptop and how to set a few of the settings you may want to so that you can use it effectively in the classroom. The first thing you'll want to do is download the software. As you can see the link that's shown here, and this will also be sent to you via email, as well as your site technology specialist will have this as well, but you will want to download the software. So you click the download now button, that will give you the most recent version of the software. So you'll want to download. It should take about maybe 10 to 20 seconds to download. Now as you can see, I have it downloaded down here in the bottom left hand corner of my browser, where you might have your downloads go somewhere else, but you want to locate it. And you want to double click on this DMG file. Now at the very end it says .dmg. And if you double click on it, it's going to ask you to agree to the license. You want to say yes and agree. And then it will open up a little window here that shows the Airserver. You want to drag the Airserver icon to the applications folder. You'll see the applications folder becomes highlighted. And then you release it and it will copy the file over to Airserver very quickly. It only takes about half a second. If you then double click on the applications folder, it will take you to where all your applications are. You can now go down, you will see Airserver listed here under applications. If you double click Airserver, it will start the application up. Yes, you do want to open it. It's going to be safe. And the way you know that Airserver is running, you'll see on the top menu bar, you'll see a little icon that has an arrow at the very top, a little black arrow pointing up. That is the Airserver arrow. Okay, make sure you don't confuse it with the other one that has the arrow at the very bottom. I'll explain that one to you later. But you want to make sure this one at the very top has the arrow in the very pointing upwards here on the top part of that square. If you click on that icon, you'll see all about Airserver. That verifies that this is the Airserver icon. And then what you can do is you can go to preferences. And there's a few preferences you'll want to set before you start using this more commonly. First one is computer name. You probably want to just keep it as your computer name. If you need to change that, you can do so. Probably the next most important thing here is password. If you say no password, that means anyone can display their iPad or iPhone on your laptop screen anytime. Anytime that they're on the same building as you. This means that anyone in any room at any point in time could take over your computer, which you really don't want to happen. So you have a couple options. You can do a fixed password. This is if only you want to make sure you're the only one who's going to be using or displaying their iPad screen on your computer. You can do a fixed password. We'll ask you to place in a particular password. And you can do it something like that. You can give someone that password if you want them to connect as well. More likely, you'll want to do an on-screen passcode. An on-screen passcode, will display a 4-digit number on your screen each time someone tries to connect. This number changes each time that the connection is attempted. What that means is that the person who's trying to connect will have to be in the same room as you. So for example, I have on-screen password set now, and if someone was try to connect to my screen, you see the 2227 show up. On my iPad, I'd have to type in that code in order to connect. Type that in, and now my iPad screen shows up. So that is probably the most commonly if you want to have students be able to connect easily onto your screen to show their work. It means the student has to be in your room in order to be able to see that passcode in order for that connection to take place. The other option is Ask Me, and that means a little pop-up screen here will show up each time I try to connect. A little permission will pop up here. Access for audio required. Do I want to allow this connection? I can say yes or no. So this is a possibility. However, it does require you be at your computer to approve this. So I generally, recommend against using this one here. So the two ways I would do it is either a fixed password or an on-screen passcode if you're expecting students to be able to connect. The next thing I would do is make sure launch on startup is not checked. You don't necessarily want this to show up all the time, only when you're getting ready to use your iPad in conjunction with your lesson. So I would make sure this is unchecked. Show and menu bars should be checked, just like it is here. And those are the main settings that you need to have for Airserver to work well. So with that, let me show you how to connect on an iPad. We're going to change this to an on-screen passcode. And you'll see a screen show up here just momentarily. And so there's a passcode, 6335. There we go. I'm going to actually make this screen here a little bit smaller so you can see both my screen, my laptop screen, and my iPad screen here. So what I do is if I have an iOS 7 device, then I can merely drag from the bottom of the screen up. And when I do that, let me make this larger here. When I do that, you now see in the bottom middle here a same little symbol here with a square and a triangle that says Greg Pitzer's MacBook Air. These are the various Air servers that I can connect to. I can click on this and I can now choose different screens to connect to. I'm going to choose my MacBook Pro here. Okay. And when it comes back up here, you see the mirroring is turned on. It has a check mark by my name, and also the mirroring has been turned on. That will allow the iPad to show up on the screen. When I'm done, I can merely select the iPad, and this kind of turns off the AirPlay. So I select the iPad, you'll notice the screen will now disappear. If you have a device that has not been upgraded to iOS 7 yet, which is perfectly fine, you'll have a screen that looks something similar to this. You will want to double tap the home button, which I can't exactly show you right here, but it's the one button in the kind of bottom middle of your iPad, and you want to touch that twice. Twice in a row, you want to push it. It'll bring up a list of the icons or applications that you've used most recently. You'll want to scroll from left to right one time, and you'll see a list of audio controls here along with the iTunes icon. You want to select the AirPlay icon, which is here in blue, and if you touch that, you'll see a list of all the devices that you need to select. You'll want to make sure that the device, like Greg Pitzer's MacBook Pro, is checkmarked. And the first time you select it, that may come up fine, but you won't see your screen appear. You'll want to touch it one more time and make sure mirroring is turned on. So both the check mark and the mirroring have to both be on. Once you have that, you can then just touch anywhere on the screen and you'll be back to normal operations, and your screen will now be shared out on your desktop. So that is how you share with a non-iOS 7 device. And that is how you connect on an iPad.